weigh 148 pounds. So now you know everything, right? Especially the women understand that. I'm going to tell you a story, and then I'm hoping to, I'm going to hope to outrage you. I love that you use that word outrage because we need to be outraged. Did you know that in America, 1 in 28 children has a parent in prison? 1 in 9 if you're black. Did you know that in America, as we have breakfast, every 26 seconds, a child drops out of school? Did you know that in America, 1 in 3 people has a criminal record? 1 in 3. You all look like an innocent group, but who is it? Well, we know it's me. And here's the thing that you may not know that just pisses me off, and you should be outraged. You're driving home today after this nice meeting, and the police pull you over. And they say, oh, you look like Susie Q, the serial killer that we're looking for. And they take you down, and they book you. They fingerprint you, they give you a mugshot, and you are sitting in the jail waiting to be seen by the judge. Because they got judges there 24/7. And the judge says, when he finally sees you, and you could be there all night, it's a miserable place. And the judge says, obviously, this is mistaken identity. You are free to go. You have a record. That record does not go away. You have been fingerprinted. You have a mugshot, and that record does not go away. And people don't understand that. They think, oh, it's just hit delete. Cool. They don't delete. So now, in a couple of years, if you're arrested because you've been out partying and you've had a couple too many drinks, you have a prior. Did you know that? Yeah. Well, it's true. Talk to your lawyers. And some of you know Rhonda Barnes, who is a friend of mine. She's on my board, and you know Rhonda. She's the legal counsel at the House for the Democrats. And Rhonda's the one I went to when I found that out because I was so mad. I said, well, that's not fair. And she said, well, that's the way it is. So you should be outraged about that. And you should be outraged about the statistics about the children because we do have a pipeline to prison. Yeah. And if you have children or grandchildren, you need to be outraged because we are spending $1 million a year in Arizona to incarcerate 25,000 more or less a year to incarcerate a human being and less than $9,000 a year to educate K through 12. Now, why does that not piss you off? Why is that acceptable in America? Why is that okay? I don't think it's okay. Okay, so I'm going to tell, now that I've told you a little bit of outrage, I'm going to tell you a story. Yesterday, for most of you, for all of you, was Valentine's Day. It was a special day for me. In 2002, on Valentine's Day, seriously, I was diagnosed with advanced breast cancer, stage 3B breast cancer, and given, you probably won't last 5 years. That was 2002. I'm still here. Yay! So, I know. So you never know. But here is the deal. It's really extraordinary that I'm here because I entered Sheriff Arpaio's jail with that breast cancer. I had already had 6 sessions of chemotherapy, so I was bald, and I had my medical records, or I would not be here because they would not have found the lump. They would have just ignored it. And I went to my mastectomy. Actually, every time I went to Maricopa Medical Center to see the oncologist, because I had my medical records, and because I was sort of a high-profile inmate, the paper had done a story about me, and they thought, well, we better treat her. I went belly chained and shackled into the van and had a rough ride to the hospital. Now, you all probably know about Freddie Gray. If you don't, Freddie Gray is the young black man who was, his spine was broken because he was on a rough ride. That's not exclusive to Freddie Gray. I also was on those rough rides. Every time I went to the hospital, I was a 57-year-old woman, privileged white woman. Why privileged? Because I have white skin. That's the only reason. But I'm handcuffed, I'm belly chained, I'm shackled, no seatbelt, and they're just whizzing around corners. And 50% of all women in America have osteoporosis. So I could have broken a hip easily. Thankfully, I never did, but I kept falling off the seat. Those rough rides are not exclusive to young black men. They shouldn't exist. Never in our country have we had a better opportunity to decide what we want our country to be and who we want to be as human beings. And that's part of it. So I'm in the hospital finally for my mastectomy. I wait all day. I think I'm going to have it in the morning. I don't. Actually, I wait all night, and then I wait all day. And they finally take me about 4:30 in the afternoon, and I do not get the shackles off until I'm on the table. And the guards they sit in the corner to watch my surgery, to watch me get my breast cut off. Finally, and all day, that day while I was waiting, I had this one-sided conversation with God. God, this is Sue Ellen. You know me. You remember me, right? I am humiliated. I am disgraced. My life is effectively over. There's nothing left for me. Please, God, one slip of the surgeon's knife, just one, and it'll be over. Please, God. But if I wake up, I'll know you're not done with me yet. Many hours later, I wake up in the jail ward, and honestly, my first thought was, oh, God, you're not done with me yet. For 5 days, I was in paradise, in the jail ward. Imagine how miserable your life is when you think paradise is the jail ward, where hospital food is fabulous. Because, hospital food is not so fabulous. But for me, it was. I had no pillows in the jail, and one cherry tomato and vegetables every day. That doesn't exist in the jail. And finally, it was over. Paradise, the vacation was over, and I went back to the jail. And the women were waiting for me. For 5 days, no one had touched me, but the surgeons with their knives and the nurses with their needles. And the women broke the rules, and they hugged me. Aren't hugs wonderful? And they listened. They wanted to know how I was, and they listened to my story. I had lost 28 lymph nodes, and I was at high risk of lymphedema. Besides losing my breast, 28 lymph nodes. And lymphedema is when your arm swells up, and you got to have special treatment, and it doesn't really go away. And the surgeons had issued an order to the jail for a pillow to cushion and protect my arm from lymphedema. Order denied. No pillows in the sheriff's jail. I told the women this, and these tough women were so mad and felt so helpless. And they went out of my cell, and a few hours later they were back. And they said, close your eyes, Sue Ellen, and hold out your hand. And when I did, I felt the softest thing. It was a pillow. I brought it to show you today. Do you want to see it? Okay, thank you. It did not come in a Tiffany bag. Woo. What do you think they're doing? Here's my pillow.
Oh my God.
Now you women know what this is. This is Kotex. It's really the maternity Kotex that they issue in the jail when you have a period. And you cannot buy this at Walgreens. You have to, I've actually checked, and you can buy it online. I think it's from Korea. But this is not the original pillow. I went back to speak at the jail, and I asked for some because I wanted to recreate the pillow. Now, what they did was they donated their precious state issue supplies, because you get state issue there, and they wove it together to form this tufted pad. And then they took one of the pads and they shredded it to get this like thread. And then they took their golf pencil and they wove the golf pencil. They used the golf pencil as a sewing tool and wove it through. And then they tied little bows on the corners to make it firm. And then they fringed it to give it that designer look. At the darkest time of my life, the drug addicts, the prostitutes, and the murderers looked after me. And I can never forget them. So why am I here today? I know that I live to tell about it. I woke up and I thought, oh God, I'm still here. You're not done with me yet. And that's why I'm here. I live to tell about it. I live to outrage people. And when I first got out of prison, I brought in a program. I formed an organization called Gina's Team because my young cellmate, I lived, but my young cellmate, Gina, collapsed one day. And 2 months to the day later, Gina was dead. Every 2 weeks, she would go to medical, and she would tell them what's wrong with her. And they'd say, yeah, come back in 2 weeks, and if you're still sick, we'll believe you. And she kept going back, and they kept turning her away, denying her a blood test. Her parents called and asked for a blood test. They said, we assure you, your daughter is getting appropriate treatment. They love that word, appropriate treatment. When Gina got to the hospital, finally, her white, they did a blood test. Her white blood count was 300,000, and her red blood count was 0. She had leukemia, and she'd been denied a blood test. Her pain was excruciating, and I have never seen a body shut down, but it's excruciating. It's horrible. And I was mad at God again because Gina was 25. I was 57. What the heck? My life's over. Hers is just starting. Why me? I live to tell about it. So we take this program into the prison. And we have they let me come back in, and we have a very successful program. We have an 11%, in the women's prison, we have an 11% recidivism rate with our graduates of our program, which is, it's darn good. But there are 4,300 women at Perryville Prison. There are 43,000 inmates in the state. And we are touching about 150 to 175 women a year. This is a spit in the ocean. About a little over a year ago, I was asked to go down to speak at a big reentry seminar put on by Van Jones's group, Cut 50, and another group in Jacksonville, Florida, called Operation New Hope. And Operation New Hope has been in existence since 1999. They have a multi-million-dollar budget. They've been praised by 3 presidents, Clinton, Bush, and Obama. A fabulous program. So I'm a speaker, and they give us a tour of the facilities. And I didn't know about Florida, so I'm asking questions. How many inmates are there in Florida prison? 100,000. How many on probation? 150,000. How many do you serve out of this office a year? 600. Since 1999, how many jobs have you secured for your clients? 2,500, which averages to 147 a year. It's a spit in the ocean. This is a big eye-opener for me. So, January the 3rd, last year, it's Sunday night, 7:30 at night, and I'm waiting for Downton Abbey to start. Last season, right? And my phone rings, and it's ID unknown. I don't answer ID unknown. Rings again. Ignore it. Rings again. I think, I better answer it this time because they leave voicemail. Actually, they leave voicemail. Okay, I'll listen. Hello, Miss Allen. This is XYZ at the White House calling. Would you please call me back at this number as soon as possible? Oh, sure. The White House calling me, an ex-con? I don't think so, especially Sunday night at 7:30 at night. Did you know you can Google the White House? You cannot call Facebook, but you can call the White House. And there is an operator 24/7. At least there was until this January. I don't know now. I'm not sure now. So I call the White House and I say, hi, I'm Sue Ellen Allen, and I just got this call and somebody's claiming, blah, 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 to be at the White House. Yes, ma'am, that is one of our staffers. Okay, I guess I better call back. And I did. And it was this very nice young man, who was telling me what a great job I'm doing in criminal justice reform. I call it criminal injustice reform. But I'm thinking, okay, what do you really want? And he said, I'm calling to invite you to be one of 23 Americans to be a guest of the First Lady in her box at the State of the Union address next week. I was very cool. I said, you know I'm an ex-felon. And he said, yes, ma'am, we know all about you. Okay. It's a big secret. You can't tell anybody that the White House called for about a week because they want to issue this press release, and then the press starts calling. There are journalists all over the world that look for this list. And a week later, I found myself in Washington, D.C. The day of the speech. I had an interview with NBC News in front of the White House, the way they're all, the White House is behind you just like on TV. And I had a meeting with the Attorney General, Loretta Lynch, and with Valerie Jarrett. And then I went to a beautiful reception at the White House and got to meet the First Lady and Mrs. Biden. And then those of us, the 23 of us, went in a motorcade, can you imagine, to the Capitol, sirens blazing. And we're in the First Lady's box, and we're looking down, and there are the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and the Supreme Court justices, and the cabinet, and all our congressmen, who, by the way, they wouldn't let us take in our cell phones, but, of course, all the congressmen take in their cell phones and their pads, their iPads, and while the president is speaking, you don't see this on TV, but they're all checking their Facebook and their email. It is so rude. We would not let our children do that. But they're doing it. Not nice. But the president gives a fabulous speech, and then it's over. And I think, okay, Cinderella time is over. Our security detail comes to get us, and we are down the elevator, and I think we're going out the door. And they put us in a big hall, and a long hall, and we wait, and we wait. And I think, what the heck are we waiting for? Why don't we get in the motorcade? And I said that to the people around me. By the way, the president of Microsoft is standing next to me and all these people. And they laughed at me and they said, Sue Ellen, don't you know what we're waiting for? And I said, well, no. And they said, well, we're waiting to meet the president and have our picture taken. Okay, ladies, you'll understand this. My first thought was pure vanity. My lipstick is in the motorcade. It's 11 o'clock at night and I don't have my lipstick. And we inch up to the door, and then it's my turn, and there's the president. And he gives me this huge smile and a big hug. He's a great hugger. And we had a very, 1-minute chat, and I thanked him for visiting a prison because that was very important to me. And then he turned me just right to make sure the picture was perfect, and it was. And they have really great filters in the White House photography staff and really great lighting, so the bags and the lipstick, it all looks great. It's a great picture. So can you imagine this happening to somebody like me? It was I call it God's magic. And it was a reinforcement that I needed to move on. I left Gina's team in good hands with Gina's dad, and I formed Reinventing Reentry because we need to do more than spit in the ocean with these programs. Valerie Jarrett and Loretta Lynch both said to me, we realize there are great programs all over the country, but everybody is operating in silos and nobody has any money. This is true. So I thought, okay, we need to do something different. What do we need to do? We need to reinvent this flawed, draconian system. I can't say it's broken because it's working perfectly. It's a revolving door of job security. So it works perfectly. And it's your tax dollar at work. And by the way, this little side, there's a bill that's up right now that I can't remember what it's called, Dwayne's bill or something. They want, right now, if you're here illegally and you've committed a crime, you serve 50% of your time and then ICE comes and deports you. They want you to serve either 85% or 100% of your time and then deport you. So that's just more tax dollars for you. I mean, that's a crazy bill, I think. It's because somebody that was out killed somebody, and so they think keeping you in 85% or 100% of your time is going to take the danger away, but it's just giving us more prison bed occupancy is what it is. So my goal, and I have cards here if anybody wants them. My goal is to educate, outrage the public, and create a shift, a cultural shift in the way Americans think of us who have been in prison. We are not monsters. We are human beings just like us. 1 in 3 people has a criminal record. And I met so many women inside who were victims themselves of the most horrific domestic violence that I cannot even imagine. The murderers who had snapped, many of them. And I thought, how am I going to do that? What's the vehicle that I'm going to use for this? Because I can speak to you all day long and you can be outraged and then you go home and forget about it. So just recently, I was invited to the courthouse to be a part of something called a reentry simulation. And they said, in 2 hours, you will learn what it's like to be on probation, get out on probation, and what it feels like the first month. And I thought, there is no way that anything is going to let you know how horrible that is. And then I went, and I was converted. Judge Snow was there. All of you are familiar with Judge Snow. Judge Snow took part in this. Judge Tucci took part in it. There were probation officers and lawyers, and it was all courthouse people. My young intern, Gabby, this is my young ASU intern right here. Say she's 18, and she is brilliant, going to change the world. Gabby took part in it, and you get a plastic sleeve, everybody that participates, and you get your criminal name and your age and your education, and this is your crime, and you're going to get out of prison now, and you're either going to go to a halfway house, or you're going to be homeless, or you're going to be in living at home, you're going to be an alcoholic or not, you're going to have an education or not, and you have a little money or you don't, and then you go into this next room, it could be just another space, and you have to get your ID, and you have to get a job, and you have to all these things that you have to do, and every 15 minutes represents a week. And at the end of 15 minutes, you go back and you listen to the facilitator say, how are you doing? Are you being successful? Are you failing? What's happening with you? By the second week, Judge Snow had already been back to jail because he couldn't fulfill his requirements. By the third week, he'd been back twice. Judge Tucci was so mad he was shooting the finger at everybody because he was so frustrated. And people who are in this business were going, well, obviously this is set up for failure. Why is it that way? And I am thinking, you don't know this because you're the ones who are passing the laws and then putting a rule upon the law, upon the rule. It's like putting makeup on a woman and never washing it off. And it just keeps caking on. So my organization is now doing this. And I invite you to invite me to come and do it with your organization because it's very easy to do. We can bring the volunteers to be the people that put you through this. And it's an eye-opener. You could partner with some other Democratic groups. You could partner with the NAACP. You guys would love it. And I encourage you to think about it because it doesn't cost anything. We would love for you to make a donation to Reinventing Reentry so we can keep doing it. But it's a simple thing to do. The other thing I would encourage you to do is go online to the ASU and check out the Center for the Study of Racism and Democracy because it is a fabulous organization at ASU that is doing incredible things studying racism and democracy, which are all tied together with poverty, with prison, with everything that we are weaving into a tapestry in America. Poverty, racism, mental illness, LGBT, all the things that the old white guys, no offense to the old white guys here because I'm an old white gal, but we call the other. It's all the other. Because we don't know what to do about it. But we're not the other. I look like everybody's Republican grandmother. I know. You think, oh, I'm one. I spoke to the DAR last summer. They think I'm one of them. Well, I'm not. Because I have this number here. But I encourage you to look up the Center for Racism and Democracy. Also, in case anybody's interested, I'm going to be in the Vagina Monologues this week. Yay! I know, thank you. I'm going to be Thursday night, and then there's a Friday and a Saturday night show. And I took my 85-year-old friend with me to rehearsal this week. And he's never heard of the Vagina Monologues. He didn't know about it. And I'm giving him, and he's an only child, and he never had any sisters, so he doesn't even know the word. And I'm telling him about it. And so Tom said, Sue Ellen, has there ever been a penis monologue? And I said, yes, Tom, they're called John Wayne movies. Right? Our society, our culture has been formed by movies and television. The violence, the degradation, all of these things, the racism, so much of it is related to the movies. So I would encourage you to think about these things, this racism, this poverty, this incarceration. It's a tapestry that we call America the Beautiful, and it's ugly. And my friend Rhonda says, I said, are the Republicans happy downtown about what Trump is doing? And she said, you have to understand this is an ideological fight. She said, we say people are dying, but that's not the government's business. But people are dying, but that's not our role. But people are dying. We don't care, but people are dying. So they go back and forth. So I tell my interns, I have 3, 2 couldn't be here today, and I tell the young people, we're past our sell date. You know, I mean, I feel like I am, but I'm still kicking here. But never has there been a better opportunity to decide what our country is going to be, what the role of government is going to be, and who we are as human beings. So I would encourage you to think about that while you've listened to me today, and I thank you so much for listening to me. I could talk a very long time, but, you know, my time is up. I said, way up. Thank you very much. Oh, can I just tell you a couple more things? Okay. So, that's my filler word. My filler word is so. I fuss at my interns for using like, but mine is so. So if you want to make a donation, whether it's just a quick donation today or a regular donation, I don't want to take your thunder, but we'd love the money. And I have a book called The Slumber Party from Hell. It's out of print right now. I've got to do it again. But you can get it on Amazon, and it is about our prison system, and it's different from Orange is the New Black because she was only in for 14 months and she wasn't sick, but I can't say better because I know Piper, but it's different. And then I want to give you some of these. On March the 12th, I'm going to be in something called a second act. How many of you know somebody that's had cancer, any kind of cancer? Yeah, everybody. This is an incredible woman named Judy Pearson who 6 years ago said, there's nothing for people who've survived cancer. And this is a show that we auditioned for. There are 8 women. One of them is 15 years old, all different kinds of cancers. And it's like a TED Talk. It's the Mesa Community Center. And so here's some information about it if you would like to come. Bring your friends, be inspired, laugh, cry, and maybe be a little outraged. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it. If you have any questions, I'm here. Thank you very much. Any questions? No?
Don't you have another organization going?
Well, Gina's team, but I'm not a part of that anymore. I'm doing this because I'm not going back into the prison anymore.
It's the reentry.
It's